So today I was kind of lost on what to do for this week's video. It's the last week of the year. There's not really all that much out. I haven't seen the Brutalist yet. I haven't seen Nosferatu or Babygirl. I can't really talk about any of those. So today I wanted to take a little break and kind of just go off on a little tangent and talk about some of the best performances of the year. This was a big conversation that was circulating on Twitter. Some people did videos on it, and I wanted to throw my hat in the ring because I've been thinking about it a lot recently. So I just wanted to go through them all and talk about the actors and actresses that I feel delivered some of the most fantastic performances of this year. Starting off with some supporting roles, I have to give my most underrated ones to Natasha Lyonne for His Three Daughters and Joan Chen for Didi. Both of these characters in their films are just the heart and soul, really, of everything about them. Specifically, Natasha Lyonne. When I first saw that film, I kind of thought that she'd be a big frontrunner for this award season, but it's very clear that that's not the case. But when talking about all of the best performances of the year, these two seem to be missed out of that conversation. I don't really understand why, but I definitely think they deliver. Same for Margaret Qualley as well for The Substance, a film that will be getting praise for a very long time, I feel, but she also delivers. And yeah, she might not be the heart and soul of the film, but she's still very enjoyable in it. Of course, another one that has been talked to death is Nicolas Cage in Longlegs. When Longlegs came out, I wasn't a huge fan about it, but I still think his performance is what kind of elevates and carries the film. And although I do think the third act completely drops off and kind of makes the film feel a little bit forgettable, I still think that his performance is absolutely worth the watch and captivates me to revisit this one, even though I know I'm not really going to change my mind on it. In relation to films that I actually really do enjoy, I think Adam Pearson in A Different Man steals every single scene and kind of makes that film his own. That second half when his character starts to become more integral to the plot, and of course that karaoke scene, I think he's really just a fantastic presence throughout. I do think that his praise is definitely worth the time. A Different Man is definitely a film that could have been a complete disaster, but it works perfectly between his performances and the other leads. Regarding my three favourite supporting performances of the year, of course one of them has to go to Ariana Grande in Wicked. I think I was not alone in walking into this movie and being completely skeptical. Obviously she came from acting, but nowadays she's more known for a singer. She literally dropped an album earlier this year. Part of me just really couldn't disconnect her from that. I thought this was more of a, oh look, we have a famous singer in our film, rather than actually choosing someone that could deliver the performance that was needed. Cough cough, Emilia Perez. But for me, I really do think that she delivered here. Is kind of in the same boat as Adam Pearson, where she steals every single scene that she's in. That's not me saying Cynthia Erivo isn't good. I think she was great as well, but I think Ariana Grande definitely gives one of the best supporting performances of the entire year. If it were up to me, I probably would just give her that Oscar because I think it's going to happen, and I think she's definitely one of the frontrunners. The year has to go to Bridget Lundy Payne for I Saw the TV Glow. I saw this way back in July, and it's so wild to see a movie so early into the year, and for it to still hold this much power over me. I think performance, along with a lot of other performances in the film, elevates this thing so much, and they really just hold their own in this movie. There's one specific scene on the couch that is so silent, but it's very powerful, and the same comes later on for their really long monologue in the planetarium. These scenes are just very powerful throughout, and they emphasize the point that the film is trying to make, which I've discussed before in the video I did about it. For me, supporting performances, that one has to be number one. It's so underlooked, no one's even really talking about it anymore. I understand that that film has such a cult fan base that is fighting for it at the Oscars, but for me, this is by far the best supporting performance of the year. Going on to lead performances, this is kind of a harder one. I kind of spent a lot of time trying to think about this because there's obviously plenty that were fantastic throughout the year, but it was hard to condense it into ones that like actually hit me hard. I guess two that immediately come off my head are Saoirse Ronan for The Outrun and Ralph Fiennes for Conclave. Saoirse Ronan's performance in The Outrun is absolutely miserable. Not that it's bad, but it definitely left somewhat of an impact on me. I remember walking out of that and just feeling a little bit like, just feeling deeply moved. The fact that it takes place in Orkney, which isn't all that far from Scotland, is very touching. There's an overbearing feeling of isolation held throughout, obviously with her character, and the fact that she's on this remote island. It works very well, and I think, again, The Outrun, not a film that I particularly love to bits, but it works well, and she really is the driving force that pushes the film to the places it needs to get. Same to some extent goes to Ralph Fiennes. Conclave is a movie that I thoroughly enjoy, and a lot of other people do too, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's anyone's favourite movie of the year. Between him and Stanley Tucci and John Lithgow and everyone else involved, this film works so much better as a performance piece than something to do with its story. It feels integral, it feels serious. I mean, essentially you're watching cunty priests walk about for 2 hours, bickering and gossiping about one another, and it works incredibly well because these performances are so devoted and serious. That being said, there's 2 performances this year that I haven't really seen many people talk about. At least after the film released, the conversation died down and everyone kind of just forgot about them, and that has to be Cillian Murphy in Small Things Like These and Emma Stone in Kinds of Kindness. I rewatched Small Things Like These last night, and Cillian Murphy is truly just such a special actor. Obviously everyone kind of realized that last year with Oppenheimer, and I'm sure there was a large group of people that knew that beforehand with stuff like Peaky Blinders too, but this movie is so special and it really showcases his acting chops in comparison to Oppenheimer to some little extent. I watched a video of Mark Kermode discussing the movie, and he said this thing that kind of stuck with me about him, which is Cillian Murphy is so good at face acting in the sense that his face might not be doing anything, he's not smiling or changing emotion, but you can tell exactly what he's trying to portray. A lot of that resonates incredibly well with this movie, with the fact that most of the time it's just him staring into space, and you can feel exactly what kind of emotions he's trying to convey, and it sticks with you, and it's deeply unsettling to some sense. The same can be said for Emma Stone, who is realistically playing 3 different characters, and no one is talking about this whatsoever anymore. I understand Kinds of Kindness was a little bit polarizing for people, but I still think that she should be in some conversation here. The same goes for Jesse Plemons, but I do think Emma Stone really shines in this. I didn't even noticed that I put them together and they both won the Oscar last year. I didn't mean that. People have realized just how fantastic Emma is and how willing she is to throw herself out there and do anything. Especially in this, there's some like really fucking insane shit that she has to do, and it works incredibly well. She's a great comedic actor, and that goes for this film, or the 3 films in this film. 3 of my absolute favorites have to be Sebastian Stan in A Different Man, Daniel Craig in Queer, and Mikey Madsen in Anora. Sebastian Stan's definitely proved that he can step away from this Marvel pipeline that he was stuck in for so long, and the conversation about whether or not he's a good actor shouldn't even be a debate anymore, because he put out 2 back-to-back incredible performances that were so different from one another. Obviously he played Trump, and he did a good job at that, but in A Different Man, he really shines, and shows that he's not scared to try and experiment with roles, and do things that are a little bit more out there. The exact same can be said for Daniel Craig, Mr. James Bond himself, who I do like as an actor a lot, but for me, he was to some extent typecast for quite a while. Obviously, he was Bond for ages, and then after that, he was playing a lot of the straight guy in movies. You have Layer Cake, you have Munich. A lot of these roles are not particularly the exact same, but they're pretty similar to one another. Queer was really his chance to stand out and do something different, and as I said of Sebastian, experiment, and it worked a lot in his favour. I think Queer is a fantastic movie that's very touching and moving throughout, and a lot of that is due to him and Drew Starkey and their chemistry with one another. Mikey Madsen's a breakout star of Anora. I know they've been in the industry for a couple of years, but this really feels like the step in the right direction for her. I saw somewhere that she said she was going to take a step back from acting, and realistically, that's probably because after she most likely wins the Oscar, she can negotiate higher prices. Honestly, fairs, get that bag. 3 favourite lead performances of the year. They're all very different from one another, and they all deserve their own spotlight. First, of course, is Daisy Ridley in Sometimes I Think About Dying. Such a quiet and shy performance that doesn't feel the need to show off or tell the audience every single emotion. Regardless of this, we can still convert them and understand what's going on and what she's trying to portray with all of this. It works stunningly. This movie's so bittersweet, and she really is the driving force that moves it forward. I'm not going to linger on it too much because I've talked to death about this movie. It was literally the first video I did this year. Justice Smith for I Saw the TV Glow is another one that has stuck with me. Same with Bridget. They are both 2 actors that are able to experiment, like I said, of others, and are really not shy in what they're doing. His performance in this is so haunting, especially with the sound design throughout the film. There's this constant breathing that really puts you under the pressure, and of course it connects to the storyline throughout. They're just a very underrated actor. They've done a lot of big blockbusters, and they're typically very good in them, but I think the performance in I Saw the TV Glow is a career standout. And of course, with my favourite performance of the year, it's not really going to be much of a surprise. It's Demi Moore in The Substance. Demi Moore is an actress that's been around in the business for a very long time, and of course many people go about the argument that it's never too late to reinvent yourself. Demi Moore is the perfect example of this. I rewatched The Substance yesterday, and this performance is so generational and will be talked about for such a long time. It doesn't doesn't shy away from anything. She's not scared to reveal herself in every definition of the word. And I truly think that all of the praise is deserved, because this is something that so many actors and actresses would never commit themselves into doing. It's emotional, it's funny, it's dramatic. She knows exactly when to hit the right beats for what the film's trying to do. And for that exact reason, I think she gives the best performance of the year. So these are my favorite performances of the year. Let me know what I missed out. Let me know if you disagree, if you do agree, and what are your favorite performances of the year. This is probably my last video of the year, so I just want to say on a final memo, thank you for watching all these videos all year. This has been wild to do this, and next year we're gonna go even harder with this shit and put out even more content and just talk about movies. So thank you very much, and I will see you all in the new year. See ya.